Hey! There. So I've already made this video once, but I effed it up and didn't record the audio because I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I didn't check to see if it was picking it up. But anyway, this video is about this past weekend was the Ludum Dare number 42 or whatever, and the theme was running out of space, which is funny because my schedule's running out of space around that time, and I was considering doing it, and I had to work that Saturday and the Friday. But during work on Saturday, I was coming up with ideas and writing them down as I was going, because I was going to try to get something to throw together within the 5 or 6 hours that I actually had available on the weekend. So here's some ideas. Some people have some issues coming up with the ideas to even get started, and this may help. I don't know. I just figured I should do something with this work that I've done, because, I mean, coming up with ideas is part of the work of creating a game. So, running out of space. The first thing that first thing I did was try to come up with a couple unique ideas that would be something simple and just the first things that came to my head. So the absolute first thing that came to my head was that the screen space would get filled as the game progressed based on items that you picked up. So let's say you found a sword on the ground and you pick it up, and now it'll show like a little box here that shows maybe a sword icon. Or you picked up a helmet, and now the helmet will show you like a little heads-up display thing that maybe kind of gets in the way, has like a fade to it or something. And eventually, every item that you pick up would just take up screen space and just make it more difficult to see what you're doing. And I didn't really have an idea for what you would be doing. I mean, maybe just fighting monsters. I mean, that's pretty simple. But anyway, that was just idea number one. So it wasn't a good one, but it was an idea where the space was filling up. And it was something that was a little more unique, I think, because the screen space was based on the items that you pick up. So the item would give you some sort of bonus, but it would also detract from your visual area. Next idea that I had was that the level will shrink the longer that you play. And this is actually, I came back to this one twice because it seemed like it would be an easier thing to do. The only problem is that when I'm making a jam game, I want to make something that's not just like a 5-minute experience that's just like real limited, like that looks like a jam game. Like the last jam game I made, Stop Evil, is like endless. There's not really a limit except for like it'll eventually get too hard, but you could play it for like probably 45 minutes before it would get too hard. And there's always, the reason to go back and try to do it again because the enemies and stuff are kind of randomly generated. Okay, so here's the idea for this one, and there's a couple ways that could be done as either a platformer or a top-down. And the idea would be, so the gray would be the environment, and the red would be like these little power-up things. And as you progress through the level, these little pieces of level would expand outward. They would just scale up. And the idea is that if you hit one of these, you'll die or have to start the level over. But if you walk into one of these guys, it'll create an expansion as well, but it'll expand faster. And whenever it touches an edge like this, let me use red because it's going to be the red that touches it, it will push it back to its normal size. So the idea is the level will continue expanding. As you hit these little pellets, they'll make it so it stops expanding and it shrinks back down, but then it'll eventually start expanding again. So you have to kind of strategize which one of these pellets you want to hit when, and it'll all like dynamically scale the level back. So it'll feel a little bit different each time if you go a different route, because now this part of the level will be getting bigger. If you hit this one sooner, it'll be getting bigger later in the level. So that was another idea, but again, I didn't really flesh it out like too far. Next idea that I had in mind was running out of space being the theme is a hoarder. Hoarders run out of space. And this actually, partway through coming up with the idea for hoarding, is like, I had a test that I did with Loop of the Lost when I was working with that, is that like make items so they can't overlap each other, so they kind of push away. And it was kind of funny just making a ton of items and pushing them around, and I was going to do that same type of thing with like a house. So you have a, well, I guess it's going to be a red house. So here's a house, and you go out here and pick up items. Let's say you can pick up like 10 items at a time. It'll just say that like there's a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 until you pick them all up. Then you go into your house and you drop them, and they move all over the place. And they just kind of shove around and make it harder to do things in the house. And then there would have to be some sort of task that you did in the house that would be harder to do because you have all these things. It wouldn't really be as much of a game as like a just kind of an experience thing where you just see how many items you can put in there before it becomes impossible to live. This idea morphed into a cat lady idea where you pick up cats and you bring them back to the house, and the cats themselves have tasks that they have to do. So, like, here's the rough house layout idea that I had. So, let's say something here, and then a bed, and this could be the door. Okay, so here's some obstacles. It doesn't really matter what they are, but I was just going to make them like the inside of a house. There's a refrigerator, there's a couch, a television, a bed, and some countertops. Just to make it so there's something in the way between these two things, basically. This is the litter box, and this is the food. And the idea is you bring the cats back home, and you want the cats to be comfortable enough, but when there's a lot of cats, you have to kind of move them around and manage the cats. But I was going to make the cats kind of like simulate themselves, so they have their own actions and their own kind of like mannerisms and tempers and stuff. So maybe one cat would have more of an appetite, so it would be here at the food more often, or one cat would poo more, because I had all the lists of the things that cats do. So you have eat, poo, scratch, knock shit over, jump onto shit, fight, purr, rub against shit, meow, hiss, cat fight, purr. Those were the sounds, the meow, hissing, cat fight. So I had some ideas for this one, but it seemed like it would just be a little too time consuming. I don't think I could do this in 5 hours. But I do think I could do this in like 2 or 3 days, where the cats would have their pathfinding. They would know to go around here to here. And that I can make it so if the cat gets to the food and nothing else is there, if it has a bad temper maybe, the cats would have a cat fight. And then you have maybe a cat that was fought. It would have lower HP now, and eventually the cat might die. So there's a dead cat on the floor, and then it'll make like a little hazard area that maybe if other cats stay in it too long, they'll start losing health. And the idea is, if there's too much of these hazard areas, like too much of this space is taken up by hazard, you lose. You get evicted. The house is condemned. So that was an interesting idea that I think would be fun to just watch, because the mechanic is like, it's like nothing. You go out here, you pick up a cat. Okay, I got a cat. Bring it home. You drop it off, and you're done. Literally, all you're doing is just getting cats and bringing them back. The only other thing I could think you might be able to do is, let's say you could pick up a cat and move it to another area. Like, maybe that could be something you could do. But I didn't really think of a way to balance what you should be doing out here, bringing cats in, and moving the cats around. But anyway, that was another idea that I had. Then I was thinking, like, this is a little offshoot. So what are already good examples of games that have the running out of space as an idea? Because pretty much, I mean, everything has been done. There's thousands and thousands of games, fucking millions probably by now if you count App Store mobile stuff. So somebody has done a running out of space thing already, and the best example I could think of was Snake. Snake is a great example of running out of space, because you have your little dude, and he's moving to get these. And doesn't he get pellets? I haven't played a whole lot of Snake, but I remember vaguely how this works. So this guy moves over, you want to get to a pellet, and once you pick up the pellet, then you get bigger. And whenever you like turn, when you're larger than, a couple pixels, your body stays on the path that it was once. So when you get really big, it gets a little difficult to navigate because you cannot run into your body. Hence running out of space. You have less space to make your movements. So Snake was a good example. So if that could be, if nothing else, somebody could just make a clone of Snake, and that would be a really good use of the theme. Another game, or types of games that, well, not even types, no. Another game that does a good example of running out of space would be Tetris. Tetris is a good running out of space thing because you're always working with trying to make efficiency out of the way the shapes go together and the way that they get destroyed if you get enough in a row. But that's another example of running out of space. But I think snake was probably the best one. Not that I plan on doing anything with those, but they're good ideas for running out of space. The last idea, and the idea that I wrote the most crap on, because I was gonna do it, but I ended up doing something else. I ended up having fun instead. I don't know. I worked too much. So this idea was to make a game. Let me see if I can roughly sketch this out here. Okay. This game was going to be a running out of screen space idea, kind of like the first one, only this is based on pop-up windows. And the pop-up windows were going to be like infectious virus type of things. I work at a computer shop, for those of you that don't know, and everybody thinks that everything is a virus, even though it's usually not. But anyway, the idea, and I'm just drawing these things like preemptively because I already know what they do. Anyway, okay, so here's like your little HUD. This is your working space, and the idea is you are a manual antivirus program, and you are trying to get rid of this virus as it's attacking a computer or multiple viruses, and they all have different type of like mannerisms. So let's say like this is a virus window that pops up. All right. And then we got, so the different parts of the window would be, okay, you have an X up here. You have a progress bar on the virus because it's all going to be basically time constricted or restricted. You have like the top part of the bar, which you can grab. The bar will say something and maybe have like a click box or two, something like that. All these different boxes are going to have a little bit of variance. There's not just going to be one type of box. And that's what would kind of make it feel a little more gamey and a little less samey. More gamey, less samey. So, the idea is, as time progresses, you have this bar at the bottom is your progress bar, and it would start to fill. That is not on the same layer. Anyway, you get the idea. So time will cause this to fill. And once this gets to the end, or to the failure bar, because on this side, whenever you fail, this bar will get bigger. Once the green and the red touch, then that level is complete and you go to the next level. And it would just continuously get more difficult as the level progresses. I'll just give it like a difficulty number, and the number will spawn new boxes. That's the same way I did Stop Evil as well. All the different enemies had their own number value. And then it would say you can pick from any number value starting at this high number and going down, and then fill in all the spaces at the end. If you have it leftovers, fill it with like 2s and 1s. So, let's say this box is a yes or no box. So this is a yes or no virus. And this is how the game would play out. So you say, you read the box, and it would actually, you would have to read it because this is supposed to be tricky. It'll say like, do you want to close this window? And one side of the box will say yes, and the other one will say no. And this bar will be moving up just as time goes on, sort of like that. The X will say on this one, it doesn't have an X. You can't close it out. This is literally the only thing you can do. And you click yes, and the box goes away. It's vanished. So that one would have been solved, and it would add to your progress based on how difficult it is. So let's add a little bit of progress. And just over time, like I said, progress will just happen over time as well. But if you close a window, you get a little more progress too. Now, we'll say another box like that pops up, but it says, do you want to not close the window? And maybe the boxes are in a different place, so you'd have to click the right one in the right area. And the idea is just to kind of pay attention to what's happening. Which layer is that on? It's on that one. Okay. Some other ideas I had were another box that has a moving X, and it has like a value on the number of times it'll move. So let's say there's a virus. There's an X up here. Got the bar down here, and it just says like, F you, dude. And you click the X, and then maybe the X moves to over here, and then you click the X, and maybe the X moves to over here, and then you click it, and it'll find and close the window. Okay, so there's another idea. So what's the, how do the virus boxes win? Okay, so let's say you have, I'll do another virus type just to let you see some of the other variants. Okay, CAPTCHA is another one. We'll just say it says like JX3G9. Sorry, my G looks weird. And you have to type it in, and as you type it in, it'll do these little password things, because I think it'd be funnier to not actually show the letters that you're typing. And there's a progress bar at the bottom. Okay, so let's say you didn't type the correct thing before the progress bar finished. So after the bar is done, it would create a like virus spot on the screen. And let me try to kind of sketch this out, the idea that I had for these virus areas. So you wouldn't be able to see this grid, but it would exist. And when the box goes away, it'll create, let me create like a kind of magnified version of this, one of these grid spaces. Okay, it'll create this little box, and let's say it has like numbers or letters and things, like F, A, another 8. Okay, I'll just say it has like a lot of little letters and things that are moving around, and I would just make it so it animates through like 5 or 6 different frames, and it starts on different frames for all these. So it looks like this gobbledygook data just moving around. And it does this through all these different cubes, so it looks like all one big, not cubes, but squares. It looks like one big mess of data that's like moving around. Just because, I don't know, it would be creepy to the average user to see something like this, and they would think, oh my god, my computer has a virus, can't believe it. So that part of the screen is now infected. When another virus window pops up, it will not pop up over a place that's already infected. And now that this is infected, their bar will, it'll crank over some more. Well, why don't I just use red? Okay, so now more of that bar is filled, more of the screen is filled, and you're absolutely running out of space. Wow, that's 2 different reds. Anyway, so the screen will fill more, and your goal is to beat the level, have the progress bar, reach it to a certain percentage. Let's say this one is 70. You have to be at least 70 or higher to beat the level, otherwise you fail. And that's pretty much it. The other extra type of things that you could do would be that, let's say the early levels, these windows just don't spawn fast enough, and you just don't want to sit there being kind of bored, because they would be on some sort of timer system, like a random range of time. We'll say 5 to 15 seconds, or I don't know, maybe a smaller gap than that, like 10 to 15 seconds. So let's say you closed out of this window, you did the 3 click, and you have like 8 seconds left, but there's a virus on the screen. Or there's nothing on the screen. Let's say if there's nothing on the screen, you have this like fix button over here, and as it's up, you have to click and hold, and it'll move the progress bar faster, so it just gets to the end quicker. And there would be the balance between the later levels. The windows will pop up so fast that you can't really come down here to the fix button, because you have to close them out, otherwise they're gonna progress too fast, and they're gonna make their little virus spaces. But other times, if you're really good at closing the windows, you could get to the end of the level quicker by clicking the little fix button. Another one would be like a Control-Alt-Delete or Alt-F4, and I was thinking of making it so you typed like Alt, you hold Alt and then F and then 4. So not literally Alt-F4, but you had to hold all 3 of them, and it would use your bomb, and it would get rid of any windows that have not already caused viruses, and that would be like maybe once per few levels. That could be like a life counter. So after you beat a level, or beat like level 5, you get an extra Alt F4. And then the last one would be a tool that when you click on it, your cursor turns into a little eraser, and you hold down the mouse button and scrub across windows that already have infected the screen, and it gets rid of these little squares as you wipe over it. But it'll drag your either it'll move slower than your regular mouse speed, or it'll just take a long time to scrub all the cubes or something. I don't know. I was trying to figure out a way to make it so you could save some screen space, assuming that you're just failing a lot. I didn't want it to feel like it was just completely an avalanche that you get kind of screwed over time, especially if a new window is not going to spawn over top of an infected space. your screen space would be filled pretty quick. And I don't know. But I had that mostly fleshed out, and that was the idea I was thinking of doing. Thought it could have been all right. I don't think it would have been very fun, honestly. Like, thinking about it, even when I was, like, seriously thinking about doing it, I didn't think it was going to be, like, super fun. But there's potential there, and it would have been a good practice type of thing, if nothing else. So that was my idea for Ludum Dare 42, running out of space. I might do these video logs more in the near future. I don't know. We'll see if anybody cares about any of this type of stuff. I just figured I should get my ideas off the top of my head. Maybe in a year or so I'll come back to it and be like, I was a total idiot. I kind of do that now, looking back. My first Ludum Dare Jam game was pretty bad. The last jam game that I did for the Shenana Jam was a lot better. And hopefully the next jam that I do, which should be the Game Maker's Toolkit Jam, coming up on the 31st, I think. It's Friday. I plan on doing that one. We'll see how that goes. Actually, I'm going to take time off of work for that. But anyway, if you're interested in following me on social media or anything, you want to check in on the status of what I'm doing. I'm working on a fighting game right now called Suburban Scavengers. You can find me on Facebook at r_Doombrowski, or it might just be Doombrowski. I think it's just Doombrowski. On Twitter, it's r_Doombrowski, and then I have a website, doombrowski.com, where I post devlogs, and I'll have all my games and stuff there, and there's links to my itch, and probably to the Steam page for Suburban Scavengers. So, all right. You all have a good time. Good night. Day. Whatever time it is. It's bright out for me. It's bright over there. I'm going to shut up now.